I have nothing but moisturizer on, bitch.
In this episode, we spinvestigate comfort levels on cross-dressing in Singapore.
There's a natural hairline.
I look like Darth Vader.
Wait, slightly
I look like
higher.
Chewbacca. One I look like Darth Vader, one I look like Chewbacca. You know who Chewbacca is?
Yes, I know.
Hey Daniel, try. I look like you. You look like him, right?
Really done, I just, I don't know how I'm gonna step out, okay? Alright.
You just, oh yes.
Stepping out of the house, I realized how uneasy I was with cross-dressing, and all these things I didn't realize before started bubbling up. You know, as an actor and having cross-dressed before on a TV show, it's very different when you're actually relating to the public as a non-actor. And I realized that you really have to want this as an expression for it to actually be comfortable. And even then, it might not be.
Oh God, no. It was the first time I saw myself really fat, because I wasn't fat before and I got really fat, and then I didn't think I was cute anymore, and I felt so bad.
So
And then I picked up some makeup. Right. I picked up some powders and eyeliner, and I made myself beautiful.
So how did your friends react? How did family react?
How else would they react? Their jaws fell on the floor because I was stunningly beautiful. That's how they do. I told you, it's pretty much the same. I just had more makeup on.
So they've come all the way from Manila.
Well, just from the hotel room. This is Dwayne. I'm sorry, do you come by another name tonight?
No, Dwayne's fine.
This is Dwayne.
Hello,
This
hi.
is Krish.
Hi.
This is my mother. Krish, my mother, my father.
I guess in the first place, I don't think of what I'm doing as cross-dressing because I don't think anybody looks at back of the bus and thinks, oh, that's a woman. And it's not my intent either to look like a woman, right? My intent is to make it quite clear that I'm something that's neither really male nor female. Many people that I can think of who would identify as cross-dressers would not be looking to stand out in a crowd the way I am. So yeah, but even when I'm not in drag and I'm sort of walking around as a guy, I am not particularly interested in gender codes in what I wear. So like as a dude, I'm often walking around in a dress, but I don't particularly feel it's feminine either. It's just like it's too hot for pants, which in some ways I think might be like more masculine than anything else.
How about when you date? Are there people who are not comfortable with it?
Yeah,
or run away?
totally. Yeah, they do. I wish I were as lucky as those girls who find people. Actually, I wouldn't be interested in guys who would be interested in me dressed up like
Oh,
this.
right.
Not
You
my
wouldn't?
thing.
At which point do you start? I mean, you started buying clothes and makeup and stuff like that, right? Does it get uncomfortable? Do people give you stares?
Probably they do. I don't notice anymore.
Have you gotten the wrong attention though? And nothing bad has happened to you. I mean, walking around in Singapore,
No.
you don't feel threatened or unsafe in any way.
No, but I'm also like a very large person. You know what I mean? Like if I fell on you, you'd probably die. And that's just real. I mean, that's real. Like I'm not small and I'm not delicate.
You don't feel threatened, but I think sometimes, like, you know, I guess some men, like say a biker, one of those bikers,
Right, so,
dudes,
like,
right? Like
I
if
mean-
they see someone dressed up.
Yeah, but I can't take responsibility for you being threatened.
Exactly. Have people, verbally abused you, or
No, I don't know if I'm mixing up memories, but I remember a parent like taking their child away like worriedly.
right?
I don't know, maybe she was afraid the child would catch something from me. So.
But in terms of threaten you physically, has that ever happened?
Well, somebody threw a rock at me after the show.
Okay, so I started drag in Boston,
Oh wow,
but like I had been queer bashed in Boston before.
you have. Oh my gosh.
Um,
How did you pick yourself up and then continue to do it? I mean, like, what kind of things went through your head emotionally about?
about being bashed,
Yeah.
it was kind of funny, kind of a bashing because it was like 9 or 12 kids
Oh my gosh.
circling a bunch of us on bicycles in the middle of the night on the way while we were on the way to a club.
Oh, so you were with a group though, but
There
you still
were
got
2 of us in drag and 2 gay men, and they went after. I mean, they went after me by pulling my wig, and then like they started yelling at us, and then they, blah blah blah.
So you didn't make a police report against these?
We did because we were going to a club, and then the club was like, "What happened?" And then so we told them, and then the club called the police.
Right. So most uncomfortable reaction from someone.
Oh Jesus, what? Oh, no, somebody invited me for casual sex at the car park.
While
I was in
Dressed
drag, yeah. I just grabbed the next random guy and told him he was my boyfriend because I didn't like him.
And
do
that
you think
happened.
that's changed since then?
I want to say 2006 or 7.
Okay. So yeah, like
10
this
years
current
ago.
climate, do you think that same thing would have happened down that street?
No, in the sense that like on the other hand, like can you count on it happening? I don't think so. Like I don't think the climate has changed. That's I haven't been in Boston in like 6 years.
But do you think it's necessarily through the fact that you guys were dressed up, or it could have been just any other two dudes?
No,
doing
it was
that?
just it was a bunch of clearly gay people,
Oh,
of queer people,
right.
right? And it was about a kind of challenging of masculinity,
Also,
of our masculinity, not theirs.
right.
That because of the decisions you make about the way you look and the way you carry yourself and things like that you are a man. People look at me strange sometimes,
Right.
just the way that they think I'm a man, and then they sort of treat me like one, and then when they hear my voice, because my voice is a dead giveaway, it suddenly like, oh, right, and then they treat you differently. The taxi uncles do that. I've been called a boy like in the queue for drinks many times, even with like sort of straight male friends, even friends. You can tell that sometimes it's about, they treat you slightly differently. It's like, oh, you're a bro. But they treat feminine girls very differently from you. So my friendships with straight men are very different.
Right.
I feel like if I were to sort of compare with a feminine woman, then yeah.
I think the press has been very kind to me.
Okay, do you feel that they describe you other than what you want to be described as?
Not really. I think that sometimes it's confusing for people. Like, where do you place the pronouns?
Right.
Do you talk about Becca or Eugene? Why sometimes do I insist on Becca and why sometimes do I insist on Eugene? And
Interesting.
like that stuff can be quite complex for people.
So when is it Eugene, when is it Becca? I guess this is my last question.
When I'm in drag, I'm Becca. When I'm not in drag, Eugene.
So like, who are you now though in this interview is an interesting thing also.
Well, what are we talking about? I guess is the way I would put it. So are we talking about me in drag? Or are we talking about like the sort of like world of drag that I function in? Then we're talking about Becca.
Right.
If we're talking about my other professional life of like being a producer or whatever else it is, then I'm Eugene.
It's alright. That is a clear factor.
But does Doni laugh like this loud?
Pretty much.
It's true!
It's true! We can't go. That's why we can't go to nice places.
And I went through the whole thing, try to fem up, it just doesn't work.
Right.
Because it's not comfortable,
It's not who you
it's
are.
not who I am. Yeah, exactly. And I think it's not so much about whether I expect people to treat me a certain way. I think it's more about just being taken as a human being and not your gender.
Right.
Just interacting with me as a person, right? Generally, when we get that out of the way, it actually is okay. When you butch, I think you become more gender blind because you start to kind of realize for yourself that your external gender and your internal gender doesn't define you. Gender doesn't define anybody, right?
Yeah.
It's just a code where people have learned how to treat other people.
Actually, I do have one last question. Maybe you can tell us a bit more about like Riot. What do you hope for it to do, or what is it doing? Is it more? What is it about? Like, is it about the community? The drag community, or getting people to be more accepting, or like what is Riot? How did it stem from? Or is it just purely business?
Very plainly, I'm a drag performer. I started in drag in Boston. When I moved back to Singapore, it became very clear to me that I'm quite different than most drag performers in Singapore. That the scene doesn't have a lot of people like me, and so it's very hard for me to like get booked and do gigs. So I just did my
Start your own. And how did you find other fellows to come on board?
How have I found them? I think I look for performers that I find interesting, or that I think have a point of view that is quite strong. Because with this show, we don't ever tell the performers what to do. And so because of that, I look for people with a fairly strong point of view, you know?
What's an example of a strong point of view? Like, say, what's your strong point of view?
Well, I think that there's a kind of intelligence to what she's doing. Don't show yourself up now. I think she has a way of thinking about her drag that is, at least in my mind, quite distinctive.
Right.
Yeah.
So it seems like it all needs a certain boldness. Like for example, I know I probably couldn't pull it off. I don't have that kind of.
For me, it's not about boldness necessarily, as much as it's about personality. And I mean, Singapore is not a great place for people to develop personalities, right? It's quite a. It's not so much a conservative, but it's quite a. It's a society that's quite conformist. I think that for some drag performers, it's a space in which they're sort of figuring out or working out something about gender for themselves, right? So whatever that might be.
There's so many labels, right? Stone butch, baby butch, all these things. Then you've got people who are soft butch, who are kind of androgynous, and all of these are actually tied to looks. It's just tied to the way you express yourself, right? And it's actually like it works in reverse, because it then becomes a very, very trapping label, because you then suddenly have to live up to the standard of being a stone butch.
Yeah.
So if your breasts are too big, then oh no, you're not a stone butch.
Right.
Androgynous at best, right? It becomes a very like what like suddenly all these, the act of doing it is a defying of gender expectations, but then it suddenly becomes an expectation by itself.
How would you feel if your husband or boyfriend enjoyed wearing female clothes every once in a while? Is that something that would make you uncomfortable, honestly?
Only because it would make me wonder if I knew who he was. My husband currently, he would not do that. So I mean, I'm just like, okay, if I'm thinking about Edward, then it would just make me wonder, oh, do I know this guy? But I don't think I would I don't think I would object to it if he suddenly told me let's try it, because the fact is I've taken part in Becca DeBus's drag shows where I drag as a guy, and he's been very okay with it. Sometimes I make him a little bit uncomfortable, when I go like, hey baby, kind of thing, and he goes a little bit like, don't do that voice with me. But to me, it's the idea of like, is this a different person from who I know him to be? But if you just meant I'm trying this out and let's have fun with it, could I also be part of the drag show? And if he was excellent at it, I think it might actually be pretty attractive. I don't know. For me personally, I'd like to think I feel that way, of course. I don't know what would happen if I actually did. But I think if he loves me and I love him, it's still a good looking guy. I'm sure he'll make a good looking girl. It should be cool.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think you look at a butch woman and you certainly think that she's gay. But there are also tons of butch women who are not. We often confuse gender and sexuality. It's a tricky thing, you look at a like you label somebody a pondan, you immediately think that they are gay. I think butch women have it easier because it's so common for women to wear pants, to suit up. The suit is really sexy, right, on a woman. I don't know if Singapore is ready, but I do think that we are a culture that is so used to sweeping things under the rug.
Which toilet do you step into when you?
The ladies usually.
Really?
Because I don't want to get beaten up if I went to the men's room. I'm scared of that, whether that would happen.
Now, the restroom is an interesting thing because it depends on who is in the restroom. 90% of the time, it used to be a bit of a bother because there are people I've been stared to death. Like, even when I went into the cubicle, I could feel like they're still looking at me kind of thing. which was a bit like wow, you know. But then there are also nice people who generally just think that you're in the wrong place and then they tell you, and you learn to live with that because actually there's people being nice. If somebody stares at you, then it's really like, why are you not saying anything, right? Don't just stare at me. If you think I'm in the wrong place, tell me I'm in the wrong place. Then we can clear it up. Yeah. One of the ways I've dealt with it is when I walk in, I've done this where I pretend to talk on the phone because my voice is a dead giveaway. And generally, once they hear it, they're like, yeah, okay, that's fine. Nobody really violently tries to do anything to you, but you do have to deal with that initial shock.
Compare.
Wow, these are.
Don't touch.
Cannot touch. Okay.
Not without dinner in a day.
I've been very lucky that I've met people who've accepted me for who I am, and it's gone past that initial, look.
Okay, so I got really annoyed with Dwayne with his back to people, so now I want to turn around. So it's fairly more obvious.